Getting Strange, Next Trials Rewatch podcast. I'm Nick.
And I'm Kim.
And before we start collapse from narcolepsy, have we got any news?
I'm trying not to collapse from narcolepsy. I'm trying so hard.
Okay.
Just been a long week.
It has been a long week. A long and very tedious week, and so we will get to our episodes.
No news today then?
I haven't got anything. How about you?
No.
We went to see Beetlejuice, which was fine.
We did.
Some of it was funny.
It was?
There's way too many subplots.
Yeah, I think that's a fair argument. You could have either stripped the Beetlejuice's ex-wife subplot or the teenage love subplot out, I think.
Yeah, one or the other, because one of them resolves with astonishing speed and you go, wait, is that it? It's over? And then the other one actually has the long build-up to the end. And anyway, yeah. So, but probably the best Tim Burton film I've seen in a long time.
Oh yeah, by far. Apparently, he was planning on never doing another film again either. It was just the directing Wednesday, I think, that put him back in the frame of mind that he wanted to make another movie.
And of course, Jenna Ortega coming across from that into Beetlejuice.
As Lydia Dietz's daughter, Astrid?
Astrid.
Yeah.
Say, can we remember her name?
Astrid, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably on the better side of what a Beetlejuice sequel could be, because you look at some of the other ideas they had and they were just absolutely bizarre.
Well, there was that one years and years ago that was like Beetlejuice Goes to Hawaii or something like that.
It was Beetlejuice Goes to Hawaii, and it was like literally just that.
Yeah.
And as far as I can tell from the vague notes about it, was Tim Burton thought that it would be the contrast between German Expressionism and Hawaii would be where all the humour came.
I believe that's the one that they got Kevin Smith in to do the script for as well.
Ah. It's probably best that didn't happen ultimately.
Yeah, I'd say so. It was interesting, though. Apparently Michael Keaton always said that the one sequel he would ever consider was Beetlejuice. And at least he finally got to do it.
Yeah. I mean, it's presumably after Batman Returns.
Yeah, one would assume that this has come in since then.
Anyway, yeah, entertaining enough and better than you would have expected from a sequel this long on, and as unnecessary as Beetlejuice sequel is.
It must have been almost...
Is it 1988 was the original?
So it's 88, over 30 years then?
Yeah. Which is, wow.
Mm.
Weird, I guess. So, let's talk about babies.
Wow, Nick, how sudden.
Yes. Or hands. By hand. Let's deliver this episode by hand. I don't know where I'm going with this anymore.
I imagine the title is, of course, Per Manum, which is Latin for by hand. I presume we're making reference to in vitro fertilization with that.
Yes. Or delivery by hand? I don't know.
I assumed it was more the in vitro, because IVF features quite heavily in this plot.
It's true. So, Per Manum, directed by Kim Manners, written by Chris Carter. Carter! And Frank Spotnitz. And broadcast on the 18th of February 2001. There's a lot of Carter screaming in this episode because I will hold him largely responsible for this mess.
Well, you're just showing your cards early there.
I am. I'll be small circumspect. So guest stars Jay Acavone as Duffy Haskell. He was in Independence Day, Terminator 3, The Red Shoe Diaries, which is that thing that David Duchovny was also in before The X-Files, Dark Skies. It's the gift that keeps giving.
We'll have to watch it at some point.
Yeah, I'll do that. And it's the whole, do you want to watch the X-Files Lite that got cancelled way faster?
Kinda.
It does have JT Walsh.
Oh, I like JT Walsh.
It was one of his last things.
Uh.
And Sliders.
Duffy Haskell also previously appeared in The X-Files. He was the detective in the Demons episode.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, not Duffy. Obviously, the guy who played Duffy Haskell.
Yeah. So then we have our controversial cast member, which would be Adam Baldwin, who played Noel Aurora, who we're going to keep on seeing because he's going to come back again. He is, of course, kind of a jerk.
Gamergate.
To some people, he kind of was one of the originators of it. And it's kind of disputed and kind of mangled.
I heard a rumour that he actually coined the term Gamergate.
Yeah, he's like one of the people responsible for that. And gave a whole load of interviews about how video game creators are being forced to include leftist crap.
So he's a charmer then?
Absolutely. Unfortunately, he's been in a load of stuff that was otherwise okay or quite good. So he's in Predator 2.
Okay.
Independence Day as well. Obviously, his big one for us that we've seen him in a lot is Firefly and Serenity.
He was Jane.
He was Jane. So he was in a peculiar series called VR5, which was a one that starred Ilya Kuryakin. I've forgotten the guy's name.
I have no idea who played Ilya Kuryakin. I only recognise him as that.
Ilya Kuryakin from NCIS. But it was one of these early 2000s VR series.
Okay.
And the thing I remember it best for is it was delayed broadcast on the BBC because of Princess Diana.
Okay.
And I was baffled for a while, and even after watching the first episode, I was baffled until sometime later I went, "Oh, it was a car crash." Oh. And people died in the car crash, and that'll be why. He'll show up in Angel. Invader Zim, of all things.
Huh.
He's in The Fry Cook from All Space.
Okay.
He's just done his various voices, but he's somewhere in that mix.
Mm.
Guardians of the Galaxy, where he also did a voice.
Okay.
Halo 3, Half-Life 2 Episode 2, and Mass Effect 2.
Huh.
Last two odd cameos. So we've got Mark Snow, the composer of the series, is a doctor, without a name. And Christopher Stanley as Agent Joe Farah, who's in Argo.
Okay.
Argo keeps coming back as well.
I know, right?
It's like that and Dark Skies and Frasier and House. It's like the TV ones I get because obviously you need a rotating load of extras and things for it. So you're going to get guest stars all the time. But it's like Argo keeps coming back up.
Mm.
And Buckaroo Banzai keeps coming back up. It's really odd.
So do you have a synopsis for this one?
From Wikipedia. Pregnant Cathy McCready is undergoing an emergency cesarean. As her husband prepares, the ward is locked down and the child delivered is seen to be an alien. Doggett meets Duffy Haskell, who tells him and Scully about his wife, a multiple adoptee who he believes was killed by her doctors upon giving birth to an alien child. He also describes how his wife's cancer was both caused and cured by her abductors. Duffy refers the agents to Zeus Genetics in Maryland and shows them an ultrasound scan that seems to vindicate his story. As the agents leave, Doggett notices a similarity between the case and Scully's history, though he does not yet know she is pregnant. In flashback, Mulder tells Scully that her abduction has rendered her infertile, as her ova were harvested for genetic experiments. Mulder later found them in a secret facility, but they were not viable. At Zeus Genetics, Scully overhears a pregnant woman, Mary Hendershot, who is telling her doctor that she no longer wants to be under his care. In order to avoid being seen, Scully hides in a storeroom, finding it full of preserved fetuses that resemble the alien child born earlier, but she is soon discovered by Dr. Lev. Scully leaves and phones her doctor, Dr. Parenti, who, unbeknownst to Scully, is dissected an alien fetus and asks him to compare her ultrasound scan with the one given to her earlier. Later, while waiting to be attended to by Parenti, she has another flashback, recalling the time she sought a second opinion about her ova from Parenti, and was told that her ova might be viable with a sperm donor. In the present, she is called in to be attended to and is then assured her scans are in order. Later, Skinner and Doggett confront Duffy about the threatening letters he has sent to Scully and Lev. However, when the agents leave, Duffy makes a phone call to Lev, warning them they are about to be investigated. In another flashback, Scully asks Mulder to be the donor, to which he happily agrees. Scully is warned by Mary that their unborn children are in danger. Scully meets Doggett and Skinner, having requested a leave of absence from the FBI. After Doggett leaves, Skinner tries to convince Scully to reveal her pregnancy to him, but she does not. Scully and Mary visit an army research hospital to have Mary's labour induced. Whilst Mary is being prepped for the operation, Scully asks to have an ultrasound performed on herself. The scan is normal, but afterwards Scully realises the monitor they were watching was actually a video of another woman's scan. Realising they have been tricked, Scully finds Mary and the two sneak out of the exam room. Meanwhile, Doggett discovers that Duffy's fingerprints belong to a man who died 30 years previously. Doggett contacts an old military partner, Noel Rohr, to find his real identity. Although Rohr assures Doggett he will investigate, the agent is not convinced, believing that Duffy is a CIA agent. Doggett confides this to Skinner, who tells him to aid Scully at the military hospital. As Scully and Mary sneak out of the building, they are found by Rohr and several Marines, claiming Doggett has sent them to rescue her. The women are driven away, but Mary enters labour and it becomes clear to Scully that Rohr is not acting with good intentions. Scully is knocked out with drugs by Rohr. When she awakens, Doggett informs her that Mary's baby was delivered and is normal. However, Scully is convinced the baby was swapped out, but nothing more can be done about it. In another flashback, Scully tells Mulder that her attempt at in vitro fertilization has failed, but he tells her to never give up on a miracle.
Thank you.
This is a frustrating episode, I find.
Whoa, you've got problems. I didn't see that coming in any way.
Of course you didn't. I mean, I think you have also problems with this one.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, one of the ones that gets me is like towards the 2/3 mark, where Scully has got this other pregnant woman who's convinced she's got an alien fetus inside her. And they go to the army.
Yeah.
It's like, Scully, you've had 8 seasons of the army being intrinsically involved with whatever the government is doing. You're going to trust these people.
Well, yeah, seems fine.
I also like the whole of all the doctors you could have. Of course, she's got one in another conspiracy.
Well, it kind of follows what we've seen prior because she is a former abductee.
Yeah.
And I guess there's no easy way to scream for if your doctor is a shadowy government operative.
No, but it feels a bit like just, could she, of all the people she could have picked to be her obstetrician, she picked one of the people involved in the conspiracy. I get that's not quite how it works, but...
This is an episode that I would have liked to see redone by a female writer, to be honest.
Not Carter.
Because the whole episode, it feels a lot more like a much older X-Files episode because it's all based around paranoia and not knowing who to trust, which is very seasons 1 to 3 of the X-Files.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the things that Scully faces in this episode are very much things that women can relate to. It's like a doctor believing you to be hysterical and not trusting, your own sensations with your own body and you knowing that you're not right.
Yeah.
I think a female writer could have done a lot with this. You're looking at kind of like recent feminist horror, like things like The Invisible Man, like Unsane, that sort of thing, that focus on this idea of women are inherently seen as being hysterical and not in tune with their body and often having to be told how they are feeling by men.
Yeah, and aside from that one female doctor, it's always men sort of telling her everything's fine, isn't it?
Yeah.
And we know she's on the conspiracy, so that also goes out the window anyway.
But also the fact that Scully is a doctor and they're still discounting, like, her interpretation of this ultrasound.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that the ultrasound is not greatly clear what you're meant to be getting from it.
But you're a layman, you're not a doctor.
That's true, but for the audience, though, they keep showing you the ultrasound scan as if it's meant to mean something to you.
Ignoring the fact that all ultrasound scans ever look like aliens.
Yeah, I mean, I try not to credit Friends much these days, but I will never forget that, like, really, the early end credits bit where it's like, what are we even looking at here? I don't know, but it's about to take the Enterprise.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's ultrasound scans, isn't it?
Mm.
Up to a certain point where, because it's actually visibly a child.
Yeah, I think you've got twofold is ultrasound scans, unless you know what you're looking at, are very hard to, like, even tell the shape of the kind of fetus in them.
What did she say? Something like it's like 14 centimeters long, they say in the episode.
Yeah.
It's really tiny at this point.
I don't think it was even... I thought
it
said 8 or something.
It was very small.
Yeah, so it's not going to be very formed at that stage.
And then we have that bit, which I feel is just done for the drama of Scully wants to know the sex, which is, as you said, it's a risky procedure anyway, but it then just makes what happens afterwards.
Oh, that's not Scully wanting to know the sex. That was Scully requesting extra tests.
Oh, was it testing? Okay. But it was
the
also
doctor
going to reveal
asked her if she could reveal the sex, and Scully wasn't interested. What she asked for is an Ambien, which is where you can often tell if there are birth defects and other things that would affect it. But particularly at early stage of pregnancy, it can be quite risky because it involves essentially punching a needle through the stomach and taking a sample of amniotic fluids.
Yeah.
Which, can be dangerous because it can introduce bacteria, for example, into the womb. So usually it's something, it's a procedure that's commonly done, but it's done with a reason in mind because you're pretty sure you need to find something.
Yeah, not just, can I have it done?
And indeed, they do say, with Scully there, they tell her not to move around very much because it could put both her and the baby at risk.
Yeah.
Because, it's a fairly serious procedure.
It just seems kind of odd that it seemed to come from Scully rather than them sort of recommending it to her, which then would keep her in place.
I think in part, though, it's from Scully's perspective that she has interpreted this. She knows there is something wrong with the fetus, and she feels the other doctors are being flippant, and this would help her prove it.
Yeah.
Which leads to her then immediately noticing the fact that the doctor isn't even doing an ultrasound, they're playing a tape of one.
Yeah.
In the style of the new Saw movie where they do a similar trick.
Well, I thought that's frustrating coming the ending where Doggett's saying, your scan was taped onto another cassette. And Scully doesn't say, no, John, it was playing in the VCR. It wasn't recording, it was playing.
But she's a hysterical woman. She can't tell the difference between play and record.
It's frustrating. I mean, I think it's a thing I mentioned when we get to the next episode of people... The X-Files has done this for a while, but people don't ask the relevant question a lot of the time. They will steer around the obvious question to keep things going. And that's really frustrating. This episode does it as well.
It should be noted that from critics at the time, this episode was actually really highly rated. It's a very, very well-regarded episode. It got almost overwhelmingly positive reviews when it aired.
Yeah, and in retrospect, you go, what the hell is going on?
I think that's a tad unfair.
Okay, possibly a bit harsh. But we've still got things like Scully goes into the room of all the fetuses.
I thought that was actually kind of interesting because it's Zeus genetics or something. It is
Zeus genetics.
And we previously in the Illuminae Flask had Zeus storage or something.
Yeah, and you're not going to hit on that by accident, but at the same time, no one draws any connection there.
But does that raise questions about what the fetus was in Illuminae Flask when we've got this room full of these kind of alien mutated aborted fetuses that look like aliens?
It could do. I think the other question is that Scully, while caught where she shouldn't be, doesn't say, what is this? Pointing to the room.
I think I mentioned that to you when we watched it, is just from me being me, if I stumbled innocently into something like that at the doctor's, when they said, hey, you're not supposed to be in there, I would have said, what exactly is this room for?
What? Aren't you meant to dispose of this when it's...
I don't think I would have even hit on that. It would have been out of sheer curiosity. It's why you've got the walls of things in formaldehyde here.
Yeah.
What do you use these for exactly? You know, I just would have asked the question out of sheer dumb stupidity, and in X-Files terms, probably then would have been murdered by somebody off screen.
Oh, yeah. But I can see in terms of a prospective parent as well, though, it's the case of, you're not meant to hang on to these. These are meant to be disposed of.
Scully as a doctor could have asked more questions,
Yeah,
too.
it's frustrating just stopping partway through. I don't get Duffy Haskell either.
So this is the supposed husband of opening kill lady.
Yeah, and it's one of these things. The X-Files pulled this kind of stunt before, though, where I do get for a point they're trying to go with how you interpret that scene is not how it literally happened, or you're not getting the whole element there. But Duffy Haskell is intentionally being this woman's husband or father of her child, gone to the doctor with her to have the baby delivered via cesarean.
Yeah.
And we're meant to believe he's all above board and innocent. And, you know, just being a concerned husband until they reveal partway through the episode.
The fact that they were never married and there's no record of him or something.
Yeah, and he's also completely in on the conspiracy. What got me, though, was it's the fact they deliberately show he's sent off to go and get something. And they lock the door behind him so he can't get back in again.
Yeah.
And it's that, why are you fooling the audience like this? Because he didn't need to do that because you sent him out the room. He knows he can't come back in. Or doesn't need to come back in because you're going to go and do your weird alien harvesting thing.
Mind, it's unclear at that point if they're going to murder the wife as well because it's inferred murdered because she saw something she shouldn't. Because they don't murder the one from later in the episode, the one that Noel Rohr takes away.
Well, it's not clear if that's because Scully was there, they need to do a better cover-up than if she wasn't.
But surely they could say, unfortunately, she died during childbirth or something.
They could have. I don't know. I mean, I think this is like some of the weaker conspiracy plotting that they've done for a while, given that we've not even got a shred of an idea of why they're doing this.
It should be noted that I found one negative review of this.
Oh, can we guess who it is?
I reckon you can guess who. Do you want to hazard a guess?
You could just say it's Paul Vitaris.
It is Paul Vitaris at Cinefantastic.
Of course it's Paul Vitaris.
Who, in her defence, you say, of course it's Paul Vitaris. I think she's very fair with her reviews. Yeah. I usually agree with her, to be fair.
Yeah, I think there was like one time we disagreed with her and we couldn't understand what she was on about.
Yeah. It's all subjective, of course.
It was, but it's like only been one time so far where we've sort of said, what?
Yeah, I think it was Roadrunners I disagreed with her. She didn't like that one. For the sake of this one, she criticised a few things. First of all, she didn't think that Duffy Haskell was convincing in any way. He was too blatantly obvious, the baddie.
I mean, I didn't think he was too bad. I'd forgotten he was in on it at first when he comes to the office. And it's kind of, I don't know, the setup kind of worked with this whole, this is a story similar to Scully. In retrospect, it's a bit too close for comfort that you could possibly have someone who went through basically Scully's plotline, given all those other MUFON people were dying. It's odd that this person managed to navigate that same path as Scully.
Yeah, Scully was her other big problem with it. She said it's the fact that Scully kind of ignores so much of the obvious plot twists that Scully comes across as looking like a bit of a moron in the episode.
Yeah, I mean, the army thing is what really bugs me. Of all places you could have gone to, the army, Scully. Come on.
But also, I think, trusting her doctor carte blanche as well.
Yes.
Rather than following her gut, she trusts her, you call them like obgyn or something like that in America, don't you?
Obstetrician, I think.
Obstetrician, yeah.
Because they're not necessarily OBGYN.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a bit much to sort of have her call the guy, and then the camera pull up, and it's like, oh, he's in the fetus chamber, and he's doing an autopsy on the alien fetus at the same time. It's wow, you just couldn't let that one lie, could you?
Mm. The other criticism that Paula Vitaris had of the episode is something we haven't touched upon, and that's the Mulder flashbacks.
I was gonna say that to go. I bet the Scully shippers love this.
They do, yes.
On the other hand, it's odd because we had that thing with All Things where the intent, at least, was Mulder and Scully slept together, and I made an argument that you can actually read that as she's fallen asleep on the sofa, uses the bathroom, and left. There's no implication they actually did sleep together other than very fanciful reading of it.
To be fair, they didn't sleep together because this is IVF.
Yeah, I know. What that was what I was getting to is, yes, Scully shippers, you've got them as a kind of couple. They're not knocking boots.
No.
Because that's not how it works.
That's not how IVF works in any way. Mulder is the sperm donor, essentially.
Yeah. And he says he's a semi-pro.
Mm.
Which, it's part of the sort of guys, Scully, I know you've immediately hit on Mulder as being the father of your child. It's like, are you sure about this?
I was thinking in terms of, I work in an office and I have worked there for years. Probably I've worked there a similar amount of time now to what Scully's been on the X-Files. So imagine going up to one of your male co-workers and saying, hey, after this time.
However, you haven't been abducted by aliens multiple times,
no,
stranded in the Antarctic.
It's true, I don't have the kind of relationship with my co-workers that Scully has with hers.
Well, also, I've observed it a few times, is that they are each other's only friend in the world, basically. Mulder has a lone gunman, though he doesn't actually seem to like them.
Scully's kind of got skin, man.
Yeah, but they spend the majority of their time together. There's a lot of interactions between them.
Including, like, trips to the UK and stuff like that.
Yeah. But I can imagine, the scholarship is like it, even though most of the intrinsic relationship stuff's actually missing.
I did see it. It might have been Emily van der Werf. It was another one of the common critics that you see when you're looking up criticisms of the X-Files, where she kind of liked the fact that Mulder is potentially the father of Scully's child. We don't know for definite that he is, but there's now a high chance of that, because it also reframes Scully's concern for Mulder's absence.
Yes.
Because it's more than her colleague has gone missing. It is someone she has deep feelings for, and the potential father of her unborn child is missing.
Yes. Saying that, though, the end of the episode then casts a complete doubt on that by saying the IVF failed. Scully's still pregnant somehow.
That was the first IVF.
I suppose so.
You have rounds and rounds of it.
Yeah, though I don't know if Chris Carson knows that, because that's not how that was framed, was it? That was framed as, this was the one shot, and it's gone.
Well, as far as I understand, you can have lots of rounds of IVF. It's just expensive. So, a lot of couples can't afford to have loads and loads of rounds of it.
That's true. Well, okay, that's made me think of another point that I feel the episode lost. We need to get past... Mulder has Scully's over from way back. That was somewhere season 6-ish?
I actually don't remember the episode, but we did comment on this at the time, that he pocketed a whole tube of them.
Yeah, and then didn't tell her. And then there was the whole thing in Emily where she found out that she was infertile. And now we get the scene where Mulder actually tells Scully about what happened to her. And you kind of want Scully to slug him for that, because, my God, Mulder, what are you doing?
It's how personal it is. It's not just that he didn't tell her. It's that he spirited away her ova, got them tested, discovered they weren't viable, and then chose not to tell her.
Yeah, it's oh my God.
Presumably, if he'd found out they were viable, he would have immediately burst in the room and said, "Good news, Scully," in a kind of Nick Riviera sort of way.
Yeah. But coming off that, though, is then Scully then says she wants a second opinion.
Which she gets from creepy conspiracy doctor.
She does. What's kind of missing there is Mulder doesn't actually relay to her where the ova are. Why they've hung on to them if they're infertile and not been destroyed as, like, biomedical waste?
I presume you would if they were infertile.
Exactly, they're not good for anything. And then Scully trusts this doctor, and it's the whole conspiracy rabbit hole that Scully apparently hasn't learned at all. Is she was told she was infertile, and the ova were infertile, so therefore there was no hope.
I also want to question if there's a possibility they're infertile because of Mulder on that basis. Because, you can have your ova harvested and frozen. It's something that commonly happens, say, if a woman has to have her ovaries removed. She can opt to have the ova frozen in case she wants to get pregnant in the future.
Yeah.
But they have to be kept frozen. Mulder has taken this out and presumably run around for a good hour with them in his pocket. Because you wouldn't have got them straight to a doctor and on ice right away.
No, not with the rest of that episode going on, because wasn't that the one where the guy shot through the bulletproof glass?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah. So you've also got Lone Goodman doing their hacker thing. Hey, back when Lone Goodman did the right thing. But on the back of that, though, where there's an additional step that falls over for me. So, we've got Scully wanting to undergo IVF, and she's gone to the conspiracy doctor straight away. And they haven't done weird, shady stuff to make sure she gets pregnant in the first round. Because this is the conspiracy. They presumably want to put a baby in her.
They could put literally anything in her in the style of small potatoes.
Exactly. And they didn't do it or use some technique or technology to make sure it took the first time, because I don't believe they can't be that controlling.
That's a very good point.
It's really odd because they want to have that sad end of the episode.
I'm going on the basis of I'm pretty sure that barring the useless doctor we're about to see in This Is Not Happening, every doctor is a member of the conspiracy at this point.
But more to the point, though, is surely the nature of the conspiracy, I mean, as much as the Scully fans like it, the conspiracy makes it less like that Mulder is the parent of the child, because they're not going to be bothering with normal genetics, because presumably they're going to need the ova. The sperm is going to come from some kind of alien component, or they're just going to discard both of them and implant a native fetus.
Well, originally this is how the hybridization program seemed to work in the X-Files, is they were harvesting ova from healthy human females.
And we don't know what they were doing after that.
We don't know what the father was, but it was creating a hybrid, so whatever the father is not human.
Yeah. So that kind of then says that, A, even if you're correct, Scully is not pregnant with Mulder's child. No way, no how.
Creepy alien baby.
Creepy alien baby. But I can see why this is a scored episode. It's actually very unclear if they do kiss. There's certainly some head kissing and cheek kissing, and they might kiss lips briefly.
He kisses her head quite a lot in the X-Files, to be fair.
He does. I think there is one bit where they actually do share a proper kiss. And it's like the second one after Millennium. Yeah, I'm still going to go back to Scully. There are other men in your life you could ask to be a sperm donor. Skinner, for example.
I still ship them.
Byers. Frohickey, if you're on the outside shot. Mulder.
Notice you don't mention Langley.
I don't mention Langley. It's one of these holds. I can see the argument for everyone else. It's Langley doesn't seem to care about women at all. We know Byers does, we know Frohickey does. Langley seems very asexual to me.
Yeah, it's a fair reading.
Everyone else has some kind of interest or has expressed an interest at some point in the past.
Langley just has Lord Manhammer.
Yes. And you can read other things on that if you wish. I don't think he's interested at all, to be honest. I did find it peculiar when Scully takes a leave of absence from the FBI, which lasts a good 6 hours.
If you're being generous.
If you're being generous. But it's the fact that it's so weird when they sort of call Doggett to this restaurant in the middle of the night and say, Scully's taking leave of absence from the FBI. Oh, okay. Can you tell me why? No. And walked out of the building.
I felt a little bit bad for Doggett in this episode, because this is all stuff that directly affects him as her partner. You think that for safety reasons, you'd want your partner to know you were pregnant when you're in this high-risk environment and things like that.
Yeah. I felt we'd got beyond the whole mistrust of each other bit, but apparently we're still stuck in it because Scully just won't let Doggett into the conspiracy circles at this point.
I know the conspiracy and the monster of the week aren't connected, but we had things like Roadrunners to teach Scully she could trust Doggett.
Exactly.
I mean, we all commented on how patronising that was, but at the same time.
It's really odd, though, but it's still the whole... They've got Doggett out of bed to this diner, and Sarah said, Scully's taking a leave of absence. Can you tell me where she's going? No. Can you tell me why? No. And Scully walked out of the restaurant. It's that... Could you not have told him in the office the next day, oh, by the way, Scully's taking a leave of absence?
It's the kind of thing where you just knock on the door and let him know.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, we've got you a new temp in.
Yeah.
Scully's going away for a bit.
It's just absolutely baffling. And then that's how Noel Raw gets involved. And my God, the spelling of his name is bizarre. At least it looks weird to me.
I remembered it being Rourke, but it's Raw.
It's Raw. It's Raw. But his first name is spelled Knowle. It's like that. That's no spelling of Noel I've ever encountered in my life.
I've seen that as a surname before, like Knowles.
Not as a first name. As a character, he's not too bad because he feels like an actual intelligence agency person who came up to him and said, "We've got this weird conspiracy theory," and he's laughing it all off. And then coming to Scully's rescue, and there is a moment where you're not sure because it's entirely possible Doggett has asked him to intervene.
My feelings towards him were, I kind of disagree. I didn't find him that convincing. And I think it is in part the choice of actor, unfortunately.
I suppose that could be that.
It's when Doggett first approaches to him, he's very wooden, very kind of unsurprised by what Doggett's saying.
Oh, yeah.
Very stoic. I found him more believable when he was being untrustworthy, when he got Scully out and he was pinning her and tranquilizing her. Interestingly, he was one of the actors who auditioned to play John Doggett as well. He lost out to Robert Patrick.
I think that's a good call because I don't think he could have done it.
I don't think, especially based on that first scene with him and Doggett, he has Robert Patrick's empathy.
No. I still would have liked Bruce Campbell, though.
I think he could have done it based on Bruce Campbell as we saw him in terms of endearment.
Yeah.
I think he could play a very similar Doggett to the way Robert Patrick plays him.
Absolutely. And I made this comment flippantly off the hand before, but I do want, if Bruce Campbell had got the role, season 8, season 9, you need to have, for some reason, John Doggett has wound up in this cabin in the woods. We're just going to do the Evil Dead reference episode.
It's like your equivalent to the Metal Man one with Robert Patrick.
But I want them to go even further. Just sort of have him break character, be Ash Williams again, just do a one-off episode. Get Sam Raimi in if you can.
Groovy.
It would be a hoot. Probably aged really badly. I mean, like, widely regarded as one of the worst X-Files episodes, but I kind of wish we'd seen it. Oh well. Do we have much else for this episode? Or shall we get to the episode that didn't happen?
You mean the return of Lord Kinbote?
Oh, if only. I mean, we can make an argument. But do you want to talk about Lord Kinbote or the tragic lack of Lord Kinbote?
I'd rather talk about the tragic lack of Lord Kinbote.
Yeah, we'll talk about the other episode in conjunction with it. But do you have anything else for Per Manum?
No, I don't.
Okay. So we are, of course, going to "This is not happening." The phrase said repeatedly in Holy Chunks from Outer Space. Said elsewhere, but we're going to associate it with Mr. Chung because he knew what he was doing.
And Lord Kinbote.
And Lord Kinbote. Admittedly, it's still probably good. There is a follow-up Jose Chung, and it's in Millennium, and it doesn't involve anything from the first one, because I think following it up would have invalidated or wrecked certain things. So This Is Not Happening, directed by Kim Manners, written by Chris Carter.
You're going to be doing that a lot lately, aren't you?
I am. And Frank Spotnitz. Spotnitz, you're meant to be the guard on this, although we had those 2 episodes where we said, "What are you doing, maniac?" First broadcast on the 25th of February 2001. Guest stars. We have a significant person. More significant than Adam Baldwin. We have Annabeth Gish as Monica Reyes, who is in this episode quite a bit, and that's because she's going to keep coming back and become a regular part of the cast in season 9.
Interestingly, they were introducing her at this point because she was originally slated to replace Gillian Anderson, because Gillian Anderson originally was thinking that season 8 would be her last one.
Yeah.
So that's why we decided we'd start getting her in now, so it was less jarring than when they brought Robert Patrick in.
And you can completely see it, because you can see she's being basically groomed to take on Mulder's role at this point.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that they will hang on to her even if that doesn't come to pass. And we're going to take a slightly different route in season 9. Poor Annabeth Gish has been in some interesting stuff.
She's been in some great things.
She has, but she's also been in a film called Shag.
Is it about birds?
No, it's about a dance. I have actually seen the last quarter of this film. It is about a dance.
I was trying to find a way to make it as innocent as possible.
Yeah. She was also in Steel.
Oh, the superhero film.
The one with Shaq in it.
Yep, seen that too. Yep.
Parks and Rec, which I don't remember.
No, I don't remember in that.
Haunting of Hill House.
Which she was the housekeeper.
And The Fall of the House of Usher. There was also, this is one where on reflection I went, oh, of course. So Justin Scott plays Absalom. He is the guy who is helping Jeremiah Smith.
The cultist.
The cultist, right? He's in Star Trek 2, The Wrath of Khan.
I told you you look like Ricardo Montalban.
Yeah, but he's Khan's second in command.
Ah.
The guy who has the death speech when Khan says, "Who do you trust in the universe?" or whatever. You. That's him.
I was so close.
You were so close. And in this case, but on retrospect, you go, oh, of course it's him.
Yeah.
He looks exactly the same.
Mm.
To continue, he was also in Star Trek Next Generation and Voyager, and in Babylon 5.
Okay.
Bernard White played Dr. Dejai, who is the
Useless doctor.
useless doctor, the one not involved in the conspiracy, as far as we can tell.
Very literal doctor.
Yep. He was in The Scorpion King. I love it. It was mostly because of Nope, but still, yeah. Matrix Reloaded and Revelations. Revolutions, not Revelations. And Captain America Winter Soldier.
All right.
There's a whole bunch of recurring people we've seen before. People who were in Requiem. Because that's the two kids in the woods with the Geiger counters. Not going to fixate on where they got those Geiger counters from. He doesn't have it anymore, does he?
Finch and the other one.
Jeremiah Smith is surprisingly back. Would you like to tell us what happens in This Is Not Happening, or tell us what didn't happen in This Is Not Happening?
No.
Okay.
As usual, largely ad-lib from Wikipedia. We open this time in Helena, Montana, where we're following Richie Soleil, previously seen as one of the two boys in Requiem, the one whose friend was taken by aliens just before Mulder was. He is chasing a UFO in his car. We see the UFO come into land as he jumps out to chase it, and it dumps out a naked woman before cloaking itself. The woman is later revealed to be one Teresa Jose, who was abducted at the same time as Mulder. Skinner, Doggett, and Scully all go to visit Teresa in hospital in the hope that they can learn from her about Mulder's whereabouts. However, they find her only just clinging to life and unconscious. The three agents head to interrogate Richie, who explains the fact that he was investigating UFO reports in Montana because there had recently been a slew of them, in the hope that he would find his friend. Doggett is really sceptical about Richie's claims about alien activity, because he reports that although Richie claims he saw an alien at the scene, prints at the scene show Nike trainers, and therefore he believes it could be Richie rather than anyone else who is just involved in this attack. In the meantime, we see Jeremiah Smith, previously seen in Herrenvolk, assume the form of a doctor and arrange for Teresa to be transferred out of the hospital. The three agents learn of Teresa's disappearance, and Doggett calls in a friend of his, Agent Monica Reyes, in order to assist in the investigation. This is because Doggett is convinced of a human element in this case, and Reyes is an expert on ritualistic death cults. And therefore, he believes, through Reyes, that Mulder might have actually joined a UFO cult rather than been taken by aliens. Meanwhile, we see Jeremiah Smith, who has taken Teresa to some remote compound. He heals her of all of her injuries with a touch, and as he does so, he's observed by a man called Absalom. While driving her car at night investigating the case, Reyes' car stalls just before she sees lights in the sky. As Richie did previously, she stops and runs after them, and sees Smith and Absalom taking a body away from the scene. However, she interrupts them before they can take a second body, which we learn belongs to Gary, Richie's friend. Reyes is also able to write down the license number of the truck that Smith leaves in, so they can track it later. While investigating the case further, the truck is identified as belonging to Absalom, whose real name is Travis Clayton Mobley. He was once the leader of a UFO doomsday cult, which is pretty much exactly as Doggett suspected it would be. The FBI storms the cult's compound, arresting Absalom, but they of course do not find Smith, because he's a shapeshifter. Under interrogation, Absalom gives a very vague testimony in which he tells Scully and Doggett that he'd been saving abductees that had been left for dead by aliens. However, he refuses to say exactly how and who saved them. On examining a video of the compound raid, Scully notices Smith, who she recognises instantly in frame. She also sees a second video where he steps through a doorway, apparently transforming into Doggett, which completely shocks Doggett, as he doesn't understand exactly what he's seeing and comments that he was not even in that building at the time. Due to this, Scully realises that Smith must still be with the people who are left at the compound. Scully runs into the compound and looks at the people who are being held there, instantly realising which person is really Smith because they're wearing white Nike trainers. She tells him she knows who she is and what he's doing, and he reveals himself to her when they are alone together, saying that she needs to protect him because he is literally the only one who can save these abductees. However, Scully becomes distracted by Skinner when he tells her that they found Mulder's body in the woods. Scully races to see him, but discovers he's already dead. Turning around, Scully runs back to the compound in the hope that Smith can heal him, but as she does so, a UFO appears over the compound, directing a beam of light into the room where Smith is held. As Scully enters the room, she realises he's already gone. Distraught, Scully drops to her knees and screams out, "This is not happening," as she dissolves in tears.
Then Lord Kinbote enters.
"Beest thou not afraid, Scully?"
For thou... Anyway. I would dispute one thing from that synopsis, admittedly. Not to disagree with Wikipedia. No way does Scully see his shoes. I know that's what it says. I know what it says.
And it has to be the only way she identifies
I know,
them.
because otherwise she just picks him out of a group of people without noticing.
It does zoom in on the shoes as she's leaving, but I would agree that when she initially goes into that room, there's no way in hell she could have seen them.
No, and also, not how would you tell white because they've got a cast of a shoe. So I found this episode really frustrating, as I do most conspiracy episodes, but this one has some particular nuisance details.
I kind of like that one, but it's hard doing it in hindsight because I think a lot of the problems I have with it is so little is explained within this episode.
Yeah.
But upcoming episodes do cast light on some of the mysteries of this one.
Yeah, although, again, one thing I would say is, like the last episode, there are questions that the cast don't ask for any good reason. It's like... So the whole setup is kind of interesting with Richie's friend running down this UFO.
Yeah.
It's interesting that he's not losing power as traditionally happens when you get close to a UFO.
True,
for no particular reason. It's really low. It seems really small craft when he's pursuing it as well. And it just abandons Teresa's body in the middle of this field. And then he sees what he thinks is an alien. But in terms of silhouette, it's very clearly Jeremiah Smith. Like, even from a distance, I don't understand why he said alien.
Yeah.
Walking over to her, but the fact he's appeared like almost immediately the ship is cloaked. And it does cloak, it doesn't sort of fly off again.
Yeah.
So, just follow me through with this a bit. It's one of these of... No one points out to Doggett, and Doggett doesn't then query how Teresa's body got into this position in the field, given they found footprints of the possible alien, who turned around and ran away again. There's no indication of how Teresa's body was carried to that point in the field, because there's no tire tracks, there's no gurney tracks. Presumably the pressure of the footstep in the soil isn't deep enough for it to have been someone carrying a body.
It is like desert tundra. You might not have footprints to that degree.
You might, but I think there'd still be more pressure. The footsteps would be deeper, wouldn't they?
I mean, if you've ever looked at a Nike trainer, they are distinct underneath. You'd see the swoosh, so you'd know they were wearing Nikes.
Yeah. But it seems like when he's trying to make out that the guy put the body there and everything, it's case of... But then you could look at his car and see there's no physical evidence of the body being in the car. And where she was beforehand, and the fact she was last seen in Oregon being abducted. And it's like no one points out that little detail to Doggett. He just sort of runs away with this whole, okay, clearly this kid did it.
UFO death cult.
UFO death cult. And then, I love Rhea. But Rhea's introduction is a car crash in context.
It should be noted in critical terms. This episode was actually, in terms of Nielsen ratings, the highest rated X-Files episode since the Sixth Extinction. It was massively watched across America. It's very popular. But a lot of critics didn't like Reyes.
I like Reyes. I don't like how she's introduced.
Just standing on a cliff face in the middle of nowhere.
Well, no, I like that. That whole the mystery is good because it's very much case of who the hell is this? And
but she's an FBI agent. You could have just introduced her in the office.
You could have done, and I would say also that does make the framing of it really weird. And also, I'm pretty sure they must have been near New Orleans. I don't understand why she didn't come up beforehand. How she wasn't assigned to the X-Files 8 years ago, given her track record. But also the whole where she has this whole UFO death cult thing. Then they go to the hospital. It's like, oh, what are you doing? Oh, I'm looking for evidence of implants. Reyes? Oh yeah, I believe in any abductions. I just don't think this is what happened here. Why?
At the time this was written, I can imagine why this would be in Doggett's head, because it's not just UFO death cults, but of course in the late 90s you had Heaven's Gate.
Yeah.
Which is one of the biggest, highest profiles mass killings in America. But you also had things like Jonestown, so you've got this ongoing fear of these kind of cults that lead to mass suicides.
Yeah.
So I can understand why Doggett would pluck that rather than alien abductions.
The other problem, though, is he's contravening his boss's testimony of what he saw and his co-workers.
Yes, but that testimony is UFO.
Yeah, I know. Not a lot you can do about it, though, is it? It's like, what are you meant to do at this point?
I've always had a fondness of Reyes, and it's something you get into more in season 9 when she's a regular character. Yeah. But I like her outlook. Apparently the idea with her design was when they introduced Doggett, they wanted somebody who wasn't the same as Mulder, so he was his own distinct character. And in the same way, they wanted to give Reyes a distinct outlook that wasn't just aping Scully.
Yeah.
So you have this character who, she's not a believer, but she is open to ideas and she won't rule things out, basically. The guidance they gave to Annabeth Gish that Carter gave to us was they wanted somebody with a sunny outlook, which I think she does portray very well. She's very positive.
Yes. And I do enjoy her. I mean, I like the element of darkness where she's a smoker, which is an interesting quirk to give her.
They're Molly Lights, though. She's only a light villain.
But so it's an interesting quirk to give her as an introduction, the fact she is smoking.
It's a modern Hollywood thing, is only villains smoke.
Yeah. But yeah, I would agree. Why she's out in the middle of the field at the point of the whole incident happening, I don't understand at all. And I don't get why her car temporarily loses power when the UFO goes past her.
Yeah, you mentioned that already.
And it's the whole, can we have some consistency between the things? But more to the point of going back to the overall plot is it me or does this not make any sense? I mean, I'll give that why the bodies are being returned is a mystery element we don't understand. That's fine.
It's designed to be strange at this point.
That's fine. So whatever the alien's intent by doing this isn't clear, we can be pretty certain that Jeremiah Smith intervening as he is doing is not part of the plan.
He pretty much says that at the end.
Yeah. However, if he doesn't want to be caught, because he's caught at the end, you'd think he'd leave a little bit delay between the UFO dropping the body off and collecting it, given that the UFO winks out of existence, and then he's right there, like there,
waving at them.
Yeah. Do you not think they're going to notice you doing this? It takes the aliens a bit of a time to figure out that this is happening, given they then only abduct him just to stop him doing Mulder. It feels that's really contrived story writing. I don't like that. That's just, of all the people.
To be fair, it frames it that way, but I'm pretty sure it would have been too late for Mulder, given that...
He seems to be dead.
And when they snatched Teresa back, he said, if we'd left it much longer, I couldn't have helped her, or something like that.
Yeah, and also when the FBI raid, they said they can't find him. So we infer, obviously, that it's Mulder, because it was really clear when we watched the episode that there were two bodies returned that time, because we saw them take one and not the other.
Yeah.
And we've also got etiquette in terms of the FBI. Like, Richie's friends wanting to identify the body while Scully's about to autopsy it. Pretty sure that's not how that works.
Admittedly, the only thing I know about this is Hollywood things, but usually they just whip the sheet off the face.
Yeah, but it's always in the morgue, isn't it? You pull them out the morgue drawer.
Do you recognise them? Yes, that's my mother. Great, off you go.
I mean, the series has been alluding it since Mulder got abducted, that the aliens aren't hanging around this time. They're doing actual torturous experiments.
Torturous experiments, and then apparently yeeting them out of a spaceship and driving off.
I mean, you have to conclude that if they wanted them dead, they could just eject them into space. So,
or drop them in the middle of the ocean and there's no evidence.
Yeah. They're always, so it's presumably, it's not clear. It's really hard to talk about this because I vaguely remember where this is going. And I know some of this is going to be explained. I don't think it's going to make sense that this is the alien plot. Because I think it's absolutely insane what's going on. But I do know there is an excuse for why this is happening.
I would expect there to be from the way it's framed.
Yeah.
It's designed to be an ongoing mystery.
But it doesn't seem like it's coherent, though, does it? Because it's that you're dropping someone who's barely alive back on the ground, and without any attention, they'll die.
Let's even think of it on the assumption that they're treating humans the way we treat animals in this, that it's some kind of research.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that medical research industries would just incinerate.
Yeah, they'll just
after
destroy
they're done.
it. I mean, we are dancing on the subject because we kind of remember what's going to happen now.
There is a weirder plan than vivisection.
There is,
I know
yes.
that.
I think we'll be able to get into it as soon as next week. I think it's not long we can get into it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you're right.
But for now, we have to dance around what is going on.
The only description you get is from possibly my favourite Doctor in the X-Files series,
Oh, yeah.
because he's only a hair above that very literal Doctor in Arrested Development when he's describing what's torture Teresa's overgone over her body.
Yes.
When you've got to presume that people who are unconscious can hear, and you've got someone standing over her saying, yeah, she's been cut open and her organs have been scooped out. What the hell are you doing, man?
One thing that got me about that, and it's really kind of petty production design, but the Doctor says he hasn't seen anyone as bad as Teresa when she's brought in.
Yeah.
And you go to see her in a hotel room and she's battered, bruised and everything else. Contrast that to one breath when Scully comes back after her abduction, and she is wired into so many machines.
But we've also said for Scully, it's questionable if she was ever abducted by aliens.
Yeah.
This we know is aliens. It could have been the government that took Scully.
It could have, but I would still say Scully looked like she'd been through the ringer.
Yeah.
Teresa doesn't.
No.
And that disparity is confusing to me. Because if you had Teresa wired up the same way Scully had been, I'd say, yeah, that actually tracks. That she's, they're desperately keeping her alive.
Yeah.
This is, I think she's got just the electrocardiogram going, and that's it. So okay, she's circling the drain. You don't seem to be doing much.
That was his other turn of phrase.
Yeah,
have you ever heard a doctor use the phrase circling the drain?
I imagine it's the kind of thing they'd say in private. I don't think you say it to a member of the public.
I'm not sure we ever look at this doctor's ID, but is it just like Pusher who's just got doctor written on his badge?
Well, he gets kind of faked out by Jeremiah. No, Jeremiah Smith pretends to be him later.
Yeah.
And I thought that was just so confusing because halfway through the episode, I was convinced the aliens were being even weirder than normal. Like, Teresa had fallen out the back of the UFO while it was flying, and they sent Jeremiah Smith in to pick her up because they'd lost her and put her back in the UFO. He goes, oh, we'll take her off to this cult. Oh, okay, that makes much more sense.
Yeah.
I thought she'd fallen out.
I like that explanation more.
It kind of fits though, doesn't it?
It should be noted as well, because you said this while watching it, is you assumed Jeremiah Smith was dead.
I did.
But technically speaking, in Herovoke, he runs away. You never see what happens to him.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give them that they have that wriggle room. On the other hand, it feels absolutely baffling to me that the bounty hunter would have let that happen.
True. Though, for the sake of this episode, I kind of like that they've brought back this kind of vaguely significant character in the conspiracy, but one that you'd forgotten about.
Yes, I don't
Just
mind
for
that.
this.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I don't think he appears again, but...
No. Well, actually, that's the other problem with the end of the episode, is it's good to have him back, and you have sufficient wiggle room with how you wrote it that this is plausible. I think most people assumed he was dead, because the alien bounty hunter was sent to kill him, and that was the entire thing.
And you have that thing as revealed in Colony Endgame, I think, where the fact that the shapeshifting doesn't work on other aliens, they can just recognise them.
Yeah. So I thought that if he wasn't dead, he would be dead for long, and that's why the bounty hunter has to heal Mulder's mother. So, I mean, I can excuse him being alive. I think it's a mistake, because I think this could just be another shapeshifter. This doesn't have to be Jeremiah Smith, other than to recognise Scully and Mulder.
See, I kind of liked it being Jeremiah
I
Smith.
kind of like it, but it didn't have to be him, did it?
It didn't, but I like that it is.
Fair enough. I don't like then that he gets rejected at the end of the episode, though, because that's very much, we can't have him hanging around because he causes problems.
I think it's because he's too powerful, to be fair.
Yeah, but then you needed a better out than that. The aliens are saying, oh, he's done it too many times. 3, too many. Right, get rid of him.
He only healed one.
True. He would have healed more if he had. We don't know how many other he's done. On the back of that, because we brought shapeshifters back in again, we haven't bothered to bring the actual alien bounty hunter back in. He's just not in this episode.
No.
At the same time, though, it's when Doggett says, when they've got the past cast of the foot, Doggett says, you ever heard of aliens saying Nikes? And Scully should say, okay, we've been over this before. Remember that first case when we met and I was apparently in 2 places at the same time? It's like that. They can do this. They can be wearing Nikes because they can be in human form. This isn't as weird as you think it is, Doggett. And they don't say that.
No. Doggett has experience. Admittedly, Doggett hasn't experienced the shapeshifters directly like Scully has.
But that incident, That was very confusing to him. That should have been very confusing as to how she can be reported at two places at the same time.
It is, but again, he didn't witness it, and you could argue they saw a red-headed woman and they were mistaken. I think he should have more questions now because he saw that videotape of him.
Yeah, and it again comes back to Doggett clinging to his skepticism in a way that feels implausible, because Scully wasn't given this barrage of evidence in this short amount of time.
I think in part I can understand it, because what they're asking Doggett to believe is inherently terrifying. It's the H.P. Lovecraft effect, where any knowledge can be maddening.
Yeah.
And you want to cling to your ignorance that, the world is simple and makes sense and you will totally understand it. It's like whipping out the safety net.
It's true.
And I can totally understand from Doggett's point of view, as a military man and a police officer, that he wants the world to make sense. And you will cling to any flimsy rational explanation, as flimsy as it is, because it's better than the alternative.
That's fair. At the same time, though.
Where you want to shake him and say, Doggett, man-bat.
We forgot to mention that last episode is actually pinned to his wall.
Yeah, it is.
And it's you believed the man-bat, Doggett. You couldn't ignore the man-bat.
Man-bat, metal man, huge slug-like parasite pulled out of Scully's spinal column.
We know you didn't actually experience it directly, but you got shot and died and came back to life.
So people say.
He suddenly woke up naked in the cavern next to the solitaire that then died.
I think it would be one of those things, if you were in Doggett level skepticism, you'd say, my injuries weren't as severe as I thought they were.
Uh-huh.
The bullet must have ricocheted off that extra large Bible he was carrying on his back
at
the time.
Clearly. One thing, it's kind of a petty one, and it's a weird one, because I complained about this with the Lone Gunman, is with and without set up that the Lone Gunman were trying to pinpoint where Mulder was based on the alien craft from Oregon.
Yeah.
They're tracking it via satellite, and that's why they went off to Arizona and the whole Gibson Prey stuff happened.
Yeah.
Cool. And that's how Richie's friend apparently was tracking this one in Montana.
Yeah.
Lone Gunman just stopped doing that.
Apparently so. Well, you keep arguing UFOs aren't really their thing.
Well, I do, but this apparently is their thing now, and they've stopped doing it.
Mm.
I know they were presumably prepping for the series at this point in time, but you kind of forgot what you did at the start of the season there.
I don't know, Nick. You argued that it wasn't their thing when they started doing it, and now they've stopped, and you're unhappy that they stopped.
I just like some consistency as well. You get what I mean, though?
Yeah, I understand.
That Richie's friend has managed to triangulate this UFO somehow.
He's got personal interest.
He does. So Lone Gunman like Mulder, don't they? No, they like Mulder. He didn't like them.
Yeah.
Important distinction. Honestly, I don't know why they like him, given he seems to just roll his eyes when they speak at all times.
But yeah, as I said with the critics for this episode, it's universally loved, this episode. It's very popular. Surprisingly so, because I imagine at the time it was possibly a bit distressing for Mulder fans to actually see him die on camera.
Yeah, then again...
I mean, that's pretty final. He's very dead, and he doesn't even die a hero's death.
True. Although you will be thinking that it's one of the things where we should probably look at how the advertising was done. Because the only way this episode could get that higher rating is if they advertised it as something significant.
Actually, yeah, I can tell you that because I've been making notes of the taglines from when Fox advertised each episode. This one's was, "Tonight the search for Mulder ends."
There you are. Now, so I think this is one of the weird things you get with TV criticism, and indeed a certain amount of films as well, is this episode got such a high rating. It doesn't get it for any intrinsic quality of itself. It gets there because of the advertising, because the only way they're recording this is on broadcast. You can't say the quality of the episode is why people watched it.
True. Interestingly, there was one critic who was very critical about this episode.
Come on, Paula, come on. You can do it. We're right with you.
Paula's comments, again, are quite subjective for this one, is she just felt that it was very anticlimactic.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's because you can kind of pick up that second body has to be Mulder when the two of them are dropped off, given they make sure the camera never sees it. They keep alluding to it.
I think that shot from the back when they pick him up, it's quite obviously Mulder's profile as well.
Yeah.
Just like the shape of his head and shoulders.
Yeah, it's not a surprise. And the whole he's gonna die thing is...
Well, Or is dead.
Is dead. Well, no, he's not dead when they pick him up.
He's not dead when he's dead by the time the FBI find him.
I mean, to be fair, it's not clear why he's in the woods. I don't think they explain that other than you chose to hide him in the woods with no clothes on. Absalom, what are you doing?
Well, he didn't have long.
No, but who did that? Who dragged him out there?
There was that incredible FBI raid on the place, which I'm not sure you usually raid at places if you don't know there's a danger either like that. Because it's the entire SWAT coming in with machine guns screaming.
In the middle of the night. I mean, it's possibly a accurate depiction of how the FBI raids places, and it's the whole, yeah, I can see how people got shot given they don't bother to turn any lights and just shine flashlights into people's faces.
I like the fact that they had the first wave of screaming SWAT guys with machine guns, and then Reyes followed them saying, everyone stay calm.
Yeah. The other thing that got me, though, was they find Teresa, who gets no speaking lines at all, but looks a lot better. And is awake.
Has no injuries on her face or anything.
And that's not put to Doggett either.
No.
It's a case of, you said this is a UFO cult that's done this. She is now, as far as we can tell, fine. Would you like to comment on this, Doggett? Because most people were going, I don't understand how this is happening. There's something weird is happening. There must be an explanation. I have no idea what it is.
And presumably it's a matter of days most, and she's gone from death's door to no visible injuries.
But like I said, for Per Manum, people aren't asking the right questions a lot of the time. And you can see the right question there. And they just don't ask it. And it's... I don't know what to attribute this to. Is this the writers haven't realised, or would someone voicing this cause problems if they do it at this point? I don't understand how it keeps happening, and it's a frustrating experience.
Yeah, it's a good point.
I don't think there's anything in the notes about how they came up with the title, given I know it's happened it's in a few places, but it's after Jose Chung, it's the comedy line, because it's just that weird repetition across the entire episode. But other than the tragic life of Lord Kinbote, do everything else other than hooray Reyes. My God, your intro was a mess, and I remember it happening later. It's surprisingly early for you.
Yeah, no, I think that's about all I have to say. Your comments on the "this is not happening" line, it just strikes me as kind of like Kurt Vonnegut repetition. It's like saying "and so it goes" over and over again.
And it's I think Darren Morgan knew what he was doing with that, and Kurt Vonnegut knew what he was doing with "so it goes." I don't think Chris Carter understands why the other two people did it. I think it's kind of the whole. This is a. I think ultimately, then I would say I don't buy it being Scully's frustration at that point in time.
No,
that's not what you'd scream.
No, I could imagine Scully just howling and crying.
Yeah,
that line just felt wrong there, but that's my opinion.
I think they decided they wanted to bookend like that, and didn't figure out that she's not in the state of mind to say something that coherent. No one would be at that point in time. Is that the first UFO Scully's actually seen? Like, actually seen with her own two eyes, nothing in the way, clearly visible in the sky. That's the first one she's ever seen,
From the outside, yes.
Yeah, that's the first UFO she's ever seen in person.
It's the first one she's seen directly. She's seen them fly overhead before when she's been indoors, and she's been inside them before.
Yeah.
But she's never seen one from the outside.
So, that, as much as she's in the believer role now, that should be a reconfiguring of a lot of her sense, because this is what Skinner went. So, you've got that. You've got Mulder's dead. You've got Jeremiah Smith has been abducted by the teleportation beam that we still don't quite understand. Actually, no, you said the last thing you would do with a UFO hovering, shining a beam into a building is run inside the building. I
think it's just from every movie where that beam on a UFO is either best case scenario a tractor beam, or worst case it's Independence Day and it's a huge laser. If I saw that light, I'd run in the opposite direction. Yeah, and I don't understand how their teleportation thing works, given that Cassandra Spender in Patient X was actually levitated upwards. As was Samantha Mulder.
She was levitated out the window, yeah. In this one, there was no hole in that roof. Jeremiah Smith was teleported. Like the aliens in Genderbender, the episode people don't want us to talk about it anymore, given those aliens cause so many problems. Even though they are just the shapeshifters, I think we have to go with.
Sort of.
But they can teleport in person. It's really odd. But I don't understand how Jeremiah Smith got out of the locked room. And also there's all the police in the room panicking as well. It's can we have the interviews afterwards with all the witnesses to this?
You've also got all those, presumably because of the comment with the cameras in the roof making abductees feel more secure. All of those are potentially people Jeremiah Smith has healed.
Yeah.
And the aliens just let them be. They don't try to get them back or anything.
Oh, sorry, that's something we forgot to actually say, is they changed the credits again.
Oh, Mulder's back in the credits.
Mulder's back in the credits, and he's also first in the credits, despite the fact he shows up in the episode less than Scully and Doggett.
Mm. I think he was first in the credits in Per Manum as
well.
He
was. It's really odd seeing it, and it feeds back into that whole Duchovny wanted out. He's still here.
I keep forgetting to look up what it is, but apparently he wanted out due to some contract dispute. And when he resolved it, they convinced him, after much negotiation, to appear in a certain number of episodes. I believe it's 11.
Okay.
This season. That he would not be a major player in them, but he would still appear. And that was the new contract that was made with him. And I think we're on to about episode 5 of those 11 now.
Yeah, I think he's basically in the rest of the run, and then he'll be absent until the finale.
Yeah, because we had Within and Without, we had The Gift, we had Per Manum and this one, so this must be the 5th so far of his 11 episodes this season.
Next week,
it should be Dead Alive and 3 words.
Other way around.
No, it's not.
Good point. To get hold of us, our email address is thingsargettingstrange42@gmail.com.
You can also get us on social media, and please do hook me up if you would like me to present anything at the start of the show. Be it any X-Files fan events, zines, cool things you've got ongoing. Happy to talk about it and promote it for you. You can find us on Twitter and Tumblr at GetStrange42, on Mastodon at GetStrange42 and universedon.com, and on Facebook, where you can find us by searching for Things Are Getting Strange and X-Files Rewatch Podcast. Additionally, if you're not sick of my voice right now, I also have a channel on Twitch TV called AdverseCamber42. My stream is live Mondays and Wednesdays at 8 PM GMT and Saturdays at 5 PM GMT, where I am currently playing Yakuza Kiwami 2. I also do play some other games on the side. At the moment, it's the 2024 version of Alone in the Dark. If you follow my AdverseCamber42 Twitter or Blue Sky accounts, I'll always give you the heads up when I'm going to pop on and play that in case you want to join me.
We have a Patreon, patreon.com/thingsgettingstrange, where for as little as $3 a month you can have access to our Let's Play of the 1998 X-Files FMV game with Craig Wilmore, who dies and dies and dies and dies and dies and dies and dies.
Just the way we play it.
You can also find our reviews of Goblins and Whirlwind by Charles Grant and Ground Zero by Kevin J. Anderson, as well as our review of Mulder and Scully by Catatonia.
Our review of Ruins should follow shortly. I'm about halfway through the book now.
Our new music is envisioned by Kevin MacLeod. You can find it on Compotech.com, licensed under the Creative Commons by Attribution 3.0. Thank you all for listening, and until next time, please remember,
enjoy your new company.